Costco feels like the safest place to shop, with giant packs, low prices, and the promise of quality you can trust. But behind those bargain shelves lurk products that can quietly damage your health. For seniors, the risks are even higher: blood pressure spikes, kidney strain, and foodborne illness. Today, we're revealing 9 Costco products you should avoid, and the 2 that are actually safe to bring home. Starting off at number 9, we've got the bird that greets you the second you walk in: the Costco Rotisserie chicken. Golden skin, that roasting smell pumping through the store vents, all for just a few dollars. It feels like the deal of the century. But peel back the shiny skin and you'll see the real cost. That freshly roasted promise hides a sodium trap. Costco's birds are injected with a brine solution before cooking. This keeps them juicy, sure, but it also loads them with more than 700 milligrams of sodium per 3-ounce serving. That's nearly 40% of the daily sodium limit in just a handful of meat. And let's be honest, no one stops at 3 ounces. That fresh roast scent? More like salt fog. Consumer Reports has flagged the salt levels in rotisserie chickens from big chains, and Costco is no exception. The packaging doesn't brag about that part. It just says seasoned and ready to eat. Convenient wording for what's basically salt water pumped straight into the bird. For most shoppers, this means bloating, water retention, and fatigue. But for seniors on blood pressure meds or kidney diets, it's far more dangerous. Doctors warn that a single serving can push blood pressure upward within hours. Add in the fact that these birds are huge, often weighing in at 3 pounds, and you're looking at days' worth of sodium in one casual dinner. Dinner shortcut or blood pressure spike. And let's talk texture. Ever notice how the skin looks shiny but tears away in rubbery sheets? Or how the meat sometimes seems watery, almost spongy? That's the brine solution at work. Customers online describe opening the container to a greasy film pooling at the bottom, with a smell that's more chemical than roasted herb. One former worker even admitted, "The injection machine works overtime. If a bird looks dry, we hit it again." That's not grandma's Sunday roast. That's a factory bird on life support. Even the FDA has raised concerns in the past about sodium-heavy prepared foods. It's not that Costco is breaking the law. They're just playing the edges of what's allowed and banking on the fact that most shoppers won't notice until their doctor points to rising numbers on a chart. So don't let Costco decide how salty your dinner should be. Buy their raw whole chickens or pick up plain breasts instead. Roast them yourself with garlic, lemon, and herbs. You control the salt, not the injector machine. It costs a little more time, but it saves your heart and kidneys a lot more stress. Have you ever noticed that greasy film or rubbery texture on Costco's rotisserie chicken? Did it taste off to you? Or do you think people just accept it because it's cheap? Drop your take below. The bottom line? The label says juicy, ready to eat. The reality is salty, rubbery, and risky. And if you think chicken is bad, wait until you smell the bacon. At number 8, we're staring down the breakfast strip that looks golden and crisp, but hides a chemical edge: Kirkland Signature Bacon. The label says premium quality. The sizzle in the pan sells the same dream. But when the fat settles, the promise collapses. That crispy strip? It's chemical-laced. Costco's bacon is preserved with nitrates and nitrites, the very compounds health agencies have tied to colon and stomach cancers. The World Health Organization has flagged processed meats as Group 1 carcinogens, the same category as smoking. Yet the packaging flashes the word quality, banking on your trust. Consumer Reports tested Kirkland's bacon and found it wasn't just salty. It carried higher fat and sodium levels than leading national brands. One strip can deliver 200 milligrams of sodium before you've even buttered the toast. Multiply that by 4 strips, and you're closing in on half of a day's safe intake in a single sitting. For seniors managing high blood pressure or heart meds, that's more than a bad start to the morning. That's a health risk with every bite. Sizzle now, hospital bills later. And let's talk about what's left behind. Customers online describe pans coated in an oily sludge, a greasy film that sticks to cast iron like glue. The smoke carries not just that meaty scent, but a chemical tang that stings your nose. On staff forums, one ex-worker mocked it as a pan of grease with a side of bacon. Not exactly the breakfast of champions. Nitrites don't just vanish in the pan. When exposed to high heat, they form nitrosamines, some of the most potent cancer-linked compounds studied. Europe enforces stricter caps on nitrates in processed meat. In the US, the FDA insists the current levels are safe. Critics like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. argue no exposure is truly safe. Guess who's caught in the middle? The shopper trusting a premium label. For seniors, the stakes are even higher. Those with weakened arteries or digestive issues face greater risks. A greasy weekend indulgence can trigger reflux, raise blood pressure, or interact badly with medications. One retired veteran even wrote online that after eating Costco bacon regularly, his doctor flagged his rising blood pressure, and the bacon was the first thing cut. So what's the fix? Switch to nitrate-free turkey bacon, or at least relegate Kirkland's bacon to an occasional splurge instead of a staple. Better yet, look for smaller butcher brands that cure naturally with celery juice or keep sodium levels in check. You still get the crunch without turning your skillet into a chemical lab. Have you ever noticed how much grease this bacon leaves behind? Did it taste off compared to butcher shop cuts? Or do people just eat it because it's cheap and bulk packed? Share your thoughts. I bet plenty of you have seen the same sludge in your pan. In the end, Kirkland bacon isn't breakfast. It's a salt bath in disguise. If that wasn't enough to sour your morning, wait until you meet the salmon that smells more like a science project than seafood. Coming in at number 7, we've got the fish that flops on both flavor and safety. Kirkland farm-raised salmon. The package highlights the word sustainable. The pink fillets look fresh under the plastic wrap, and the price beats wild-caught every time. But the promise of clean seafood falls apart once you learn what's inside. Dinner fillet or chemical sponge? Independent studies have found that Costco's farm-raised salmon contains elevated levels of PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls. These are industrial chemicals linked to cancer, immune suppression, and developmental issues. The European Union sets much tighter limits on PCB contamination in fish than the United States. But if you're buying that bulk pack salmon at Costco, you're playing by the loser US standards. And it's not just about invisible toxins. Customers report that opening a pack of Kirkland salmon unleashes a slimy smell, something between damp cardboard and sour seawater. The flesh often feels mushy, breaking apart before it even hits the pan. Try to cook it, and instead of flaking into tender pieces, it oozes gray liquid and curls into limp strips. One shopper said it best: "It smelled fishy before it was even cooked. That pink glow? It's painted on." Farmed salmon doesn't naturally have the bright color you see in ads. They're fed synthetic pigments to mimic the look of wild-caught fish. It's cosmetics for your dinner plate, and it tricks you into thinking you're buying quality. Whistleblowers have added to the concerns. Reports from shipping workers describe moldy frozen shipments thawed, rebagged, and sold. When profit drives the clock, safety gets ignored. The sustainable stamp on the label suddenly feels more like marketing than fact. For seniors, the health risks cut deeper. PCBs accumulate in fat tissue, which means repeated exposure adds up over time. A weakened immune system can't fight as effectively, leaving older adults more vulnerable to infections and long-term diseases. Add in the stress on the heart from poor food quality, and that so-called healthy fish dinner becomes a real hazard. The FDA insists current PCB levels are safe, but critics, and even Robert F. Kennedy Jr., argue that Americans are playing guinea pigs compared to stricter European rules. When regulators say it's safe enough, what they mean is safe enough for the average person. But if you're on blood pressure medication or recovering from surgery, is safe enough really safe for you? So what's the fix? Skip the farm pens. Buy wild-caught Alaskan salmon frozen at sea. These fillets are naturally pink, lower in toxins, and actually cook like real fish should. Yes, it's pricier, but you're paying for clean protein instead of a chemical sponge. Question for the comments: have you ever opened a pack of Costco salmon and noticed that slimy smell or mushy texture? Did you eat it anyway or toss it straight out? Let us know. We want to hear if you've seen the same mess. At the end of the day, Kirkland's farm-raised salmon isn't a sustainable deal. It's a pink disguise with a chemical price tag. Fish behind us, but don't relax because this trail mix carries more candy than fuel. Snack time or sugar trap? At number 6, Costco's Kirkland Trail Mix. It's sold as healthy energy. The label shows nuts, raisins, and little chocolate candies, all the stuff you'd expect to fuel a hike. But open the bag and you'll find a dessert disguised as health food. Snack handful or sugar bomb? Here's the truth. 1 cup of Kirkland Trail Mix equals the sugar of 3 candy bars. That's nearly 30 grams in a single scoop. The FDA recommends limiting added sugar to 25 grams per day for women and 36 grams for men. So with a single bowl, you're already beyond the limit. And it's not just the numbers, it's the way it feels. The raisins stick together in sticky clumps, coated with crystallized sugar. The chocolate pieces melt into waxy blobs that glue the nuts into clusters. Pour it into your hand, and instead of a clean mix, you get a sticky, greasy ball. One reviewer online said it best: "By the time I got to the bottom of the bag, it looked like trail mix fudge. Energy today, crash tomorrow." That's what happens with this much sugar. You get the rush, then the blood sugar spike, then the crash. For diabetics, many of whom shop Costco for convenience, that crash is more than fatigue. It can mean dangerous blood sugar swings, ER visits, and long-term damage. A retired teacher posted online that she thought she was snacking healthy until her A1C jumped at her next doctor's appointment. For seniors, the risks pile up. Excess sugar isn't just about weight. It stresses kidneys already working overtime. It raises blood pressure and interferes with medications. If you're dealing with arthritis, heart meds, or insulin, a sugary snack is a hidden landmine, and Costco markets this as healthy energy. That's the betrayal. Nuts themselves are healthy, providing protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Costco just buries them under a candy coating. That means the product isn't bad because of the nuts. It's bad because the mix is engineered to taste more like dessert. And the smell? Open a fresh bag and it's sweet first, nutty second. Instead of roasted almonds, you get the strong scent of chocolate and raisins, almost syrupy. Seniors trying to eat heart-healthy may think this is the answer. In reality, it's closer to trail mix ice cream topping than nutrition. Skip the bulk bag. Make your own with raw almonds, unsalted peanuts, sunflower seeds, and unsweetened dried fruit. You'll get real energy, not a sugar trap. Or at least buy Costco's plain nut mixes without the candy filler. Have you ever poured out a handful of this trail mix and realized it was more chocolate and raisins than nuts? Did it feel like dessert instead of a snack? Drop your answer. I bet a lot of people have had the same shock. At the end of the day, Kirkland Trail Mix isn't fuel for your hike. It's a sugar bomb that melts in your hand and wrecks your health. Want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the facts that could protect your health. Number 5. The $1.50 dog that could cost you more. Costco's food court hot dog is legendary. A jumbo dog and soda for less than $2. People brag about it, whole articles celebrate it, and Costco defends that price like it's sacred. But here's the betrayal. What looks like the cheapest meal in America could be one of the costliest for your health. Hot dog or heart risk on a bun. Start with the sodium. One Kirkland hot dog packs 1,500 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly the entire daily limit recommended by the American Heart Association for seniors. Add the bun, the condiments, and the soda, and you're swallowing more salt than your kidneys can comfortably process in a single sitting. For anyone on blood pressure meds, that isn't lunch. It's a blood pressure spike waiting to happen. But it doesn't stop with salt. These dogs are loaded with nitrates and nitrites, preservatives linked to colorectal cancer in dozens of studies. The World Health Organization classifies processed meats like hot dogs as Group 1 carcinogens, the same category as smoking. Seniors managing colon or stomach issues face an even higher risk. Yet Costco sells this as the ultimate value meal. Cheap snack, costly health. Now picture the food court. The bun is often slick with grease, soaking through the paper sleeve before you take a bite. The hot dog itself sometimes sits too long in warmers, lukewarm, rubbery, and dripping with oily runoff. Inspectors have noted temperature control violations at several Costco food courts across the country. Translation: dogs are sitting in that danger zone where bacteria can thrive. For a younger stomach, maybe it's just nausea. For seniors with weaker immune systems, it could mean food poisoning or even sepsis. But here's the real shocker. Some staff forums have described prepping the dogs in bulk, storing them in trays, and reheating as needed. That doesn't exactly scream fresh off the grill. It's more like leftovers on rotation. And then there's the texture. Bite into one, and instead of a crisp snap, you often get a chewy drag of processed meat. The grease coats your tongue and lingers like a film. Wash it down with the 69-cent refill soda, and you've added another wallop of sugar to your bloodstream. Energy today, crash tomorrow. So what to do? Skip the Costco food court dog. If you really crave a hot dog, make one at home with lean, nitrate-free sausages or chicken sausages. Grill them fresh, pair them with whole grain buns, and season them yourself. You'll get the taste without the salt bath and cancer warning label. Would you still line up for the famous Costco hot dog if you knew it packed a full day's sodium plus cancer-linked chemicals into one greasy bun? Or does the $1.50 price still make it worth it? Be honest in the comments. I want to know. At the end of the day, Costco's hot dog deal isn't a bargain. It's a heart attack wrapped in paper and sold with a smile. But if you thought that was heavy, wait until you meet the muffin. At number 4, the giant muffin that eats like a cake. These jumbo muffins are stacked high in plastic trays, sold as convenient breakfast you can grab on the go. Shoppers see value. 6 oversized muffins for a bargain. But the betrayal? Each one isn't a breakfast, it's practically a dessert bomb. Breakfast or dessert bomb? Crack the numbers. A single Costco muffin packs over 600 calories and 40 grams of sugar. That's the same sugar hit as 3 glazed donuts. For a senior already managing blood pressure, arthritis, or diabetes, that isn't fuel. It's a recipe for inflammation and sugar crashes. Doctors warn that diets high in refined sugar raise the risk of heart disease and joint pain, something seniors feel the next day when their knees ache and energy tanks. And the texture? Peel back the wrapper and your fingers come away sticky from the glaze. The crumb isn't light or fluffy, it's dense and oily, leaving a film on your tongue. Bite into one, and the cloying sweetness coats your mouth until water barely washes it away. Customers have bluntly called them cake in disguise. Muffin top? More like muffin trap. Costco markets these as an easy breakfast, but seniors trying to manage weight or blood sugar are being misled. The size alone is absurd. Most nutritionists recommend a muffin that's about half the size. Yet Costco's muffins are closer to a quarter of a day's calories in a single serving. And that's before you add coffee, cream, or butter. Many seniors eat them thinking they're making a better choice than a fast food drive-thru. In reality, they're worse. At least a McDonald's Egg McMuffin has protein and half the sugar. Costco's muffin, just carbs, fat, and sugar, are working against you. The risks are clear: obesity, blood sugar spikes, kidney strain, and even higher cholesterol. For seniors on meds, especially insulin or statins, this can be dangerous. And let's not forget arthritis. Refined sugar fuels inflammation, making swollen joints worse. But the fix is simple. Split one muffin into quarters and treat it like dessert, not breakfast. Or better yet, bake sugar-free muffins at home with almond flour and fruit for sweetness. You'll get flavor without the sugar bomb. Have you ever sat down with one Costco muffin only to realize halfway through that it felt more like eating cake? Did it leave you sluggish instead of satisfied? Drop your story, I guarantee you're not alone. At the end of the day, Costco's muffins aren't breakfast. They're cupcakes pretending to be morning fuel. And now, the vodka that promises luxury but pours out regret. Number 3, the bargain vodka that burns more than your throat. Shoppers whisper that Costco's Kirkland vodka is the twin of Grey Goose. Same taste, same smoothness, just cheaper. That's the promise. The betrayal? What you pour from that frosted bottle could be anything but consistent. Luxury sip or chemical burn? Unlike national brands that follow strict production standards, Kirkland vodka is bottled through contract distillers. And here's the catch: quality control varies. There's no guarantee the next batch will taste like the last. Reviews on forums tell the story. One bottle was smooth, the next tasted like paint thinner. That's not luxury, it's roulette in a glass. Stats don't lie either. Unlike Grey Goose, which undergoes strict EU testing for purity, Costco's vodka doesn't face the same transparency. In the US, the FDA has far looser oversight when it comes to spirits. So while Europe forces brands to disclose detailed sourcing and additive limits, American bargain bottles can slip through with less scrutiny. Cheap pour, costly fallout. The risks go far beyond taste. For seniors on medication, alcohol isn't just a buzz, it's a landmine. Mix vodka with blood pressure pills, statins, or pain relievers, and the liver takes the hit. Doctors warn that even small doses can strain aging kidneys and amplify side effects like dizziness or irregular heartbeat. Add poor quality vodka into the mix, loaded with impurities, and you've got the recipe for a night that ends in the ER. And let's talk about the sensory horror. Open a bottle, and instead of a clean, crisp aroma, you sometimes get harsh chemical fumes that sting the nose. Pour a glass, take a sip, and the burn clings bitterly at the back of your throat. Instead of smooth warmth, you're left with a raw scrape and pounding headache the next morning. Customers joke that it feels less like vodka and more like floor cleaner with a label. But here's the real deal. Hangovers from Kirkland vodka are often reported as worse than pricier brands. Why? Inconsistent distillation leaves behind more congeners, the chemical byproducts of fermentation. Those compounds make the difference between waking up groggy and waking up wrecked. Here is something you can do. If you drink, stick with known brands that are tested for quality and consistency. Better yet, choose options certified under EU standards, where testing is far stricter. And if you're on meds, skip the vodka entirely. Your liver and your blood pressure will thank you. Would you roll the dice on a bargain vodka if it meant risking your health? Or do you think the cheap thrill is worth the gamble? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. At the end of the day, Kirkland vodka isn't Grey Goose. It's a guessing game in a bottle, sometimes smooth, sometimes a chemical burn. Next up, the pizza slice loaded with grease and regret. Runner-up, the frozen pizza that looks fun, but fights your health. You see the giant box stacked in Costco's freezer aisle and think, family night solved, cheesy, gooey, and big enough to feed a crowd. That's the promise. The betrayal? Each slice is a sodium and fat bomb waiting to hit your heart. Pizza night or health nightmare? The numbers are brutal. One slice of Kirkland frozen pizza packs around 1,200 milligrams of sodium, which is almost the entire day's safe limit for a senior. Add in trans fats, the kind the FDA has tried to phase out, and you've got something closer to a health hazard than comfort food. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has argued that Europe keeps stricter controls on trans fats, while U.S. companies continue slipping them into processed foods. For seniors on blood pressure meds or with kidney issues, that much sodium isn't just salty. It's dangerous. Salt overload pulls fluid into the bloodstream, forcing the kidneys and heart to work overtime. That can mean swollen ankles, shortness of breath, or a trip to the ER with fluid buildup. Slice of fun or slice of regret. Now let's talk about what actually comes out of the oven. The box promises golden crust and stringy cheese. Instead, what you often get is a limp slab with greasy puddles pooling on top. The crust bakes up chewy and soggy at the same time. Stale cardboard with tomato paste. The smell is overpowering, not like fresh-baked pizza, but like cheap cheese sweating in an overheated kitchen. Customers have complained online about soggy pies swimming in oil. One even joked it tasted like grease on a sponge. That isn't a family treat, it's a stomachache waiting to happen. Even if you stop at 2 slices, you've already blown past 2,400 milligrams of sodium, more than a senior should have in a full day. Add in saturated fat, and you're setting up the arteries for trouble. Doctors warn that high-salt diets are one of the fastest ways to push blood pressure meds into overdrive. What's the fix? Don't rely on frozen bulk pies. If you want pizza night, buy whole grain crusts, low-sodium sauce, and fresh toppings. Even making a simple homemade pizza with vegetables and a lighter cheese cuts the sodium in half. Or grab one of the brands that offers a true whole wheat crust with no added trans fats. Would you still serve this to your family if you knew each slice carried more salt than a fast food burger and fries combined? Or is the low price worth the health hit? At the end of the day, Kirkland frozen pizza isn't a party saver. It's a grease-soaked regret in a box. Think the frozen pizza was a cheap trick? The canned chicken makes it look gourmet. And at number 1, the canned chicken you'll wish you left behind. It's sold as the ultimate convenience. Pre-cooked, ready to mix into salads, wraps, or casseroles. The promise is protein on demand. The betrayal? What's inside that can is more salt and chemical aftertaste than nutrition. Protein fix or salty scam? Crack open a can and you're hit with a smell that reviewers compare to dog food. Not roasted chicken, not fresh poultry, just a damp metallic odor mixed with brine. Instead of tender meat, what spills out is stringy clumps, rubbery chunks, and a chemical tang that clings to the nose. Let's talk numbers. A single serving can pack upwards of 600 milligrams of sodium. For seniors on blood pressure medication, that's nearly half the recommended daily max in just one sandwich. Add multiple servings and you're past the safe zone before dinner. The FDA has warned for years that excessive sodium worsens hypertension and kidney disease. Yet here we are, Costco selling salt-packed poultry as healthy convenience. Quick meal, long-term damage. And it's not just the salt. Studies show canned meats can leach metal residues from the lining, especially when stored for months. That metallic edge you taste? It's not just flavor, it's what happens when packaging breaks down. Seniors with already fragile digestion or kidney strain end up paying the price. Whistleblower-style reviews make it worse. Opened the can, smelled like chemicals, looked like shredded rubber, straight to the trash. Another, why does this taste like it was boiled in tin? When customers are comparing your chicken to pet food, the branding has failed. When compared side by side with fresh chicken breast, this canned version often contains 2 to 3 times more sodium and far less natural protein density. What's marketed as nutrition is closer to a salty sponge with a label. So what's the fix? Skip the can. Cook a batch of fresh chicken breasts, shred them, and freeze portions for quick meals. Or, if you truly need something shelf-stable, choose no salt-added canned tuna or salmon. Both offer protein without the sodium landmine and don't carry the same metallic tang. Would you ever trust a protein source that smells like dog food and loads more salt than your blood pressure pills can handle? Or do you toss it straight back on the shelf? Let us know in the comments. At the end of the day, Kirkland canned chicken isn't quick nutrition. It's a salty, rubbery regret sealed in metal. Enough with the risks. Now let's flip to the 2 actually safe Costco picks. Kicking off the first actually worth it pick, we've got Kirkland organic frozen vegetables. And unlike the cans, bags, or boxes that left you queasy, this one finally lives up to its label. Frozen at peak freshness, no preservatives, no salt solution, just real produce sealed tight. Frozen veggies that actually earn your trust. Open a bag and you don't get a chemical fog or mystery smell. Instead, you see broccoli florets, peas, or green beans that look like the ones you'd pick out at a farmer's market, only snap frozen. That process locks in vitamins and fiber without needing the sodium wallop you get from canned goods. And here's the big contrast. While a can of chicken clocks in at 600 milligrams of sodium per serving, a cup of Kirkland's organic peas has zero added sodium, none. For seniors, watching blood pressure or kidney function makes all the difference. The FDA estimates nearly 90% of adults consume too much sodium daily. Frozen vegetables like these are the rare exception where you're not tricked by marketing. Nutrition studies show frozen vegetables often contain equal or even higher vitamin levels than fresh produce sitting for days in transit. Vitamin C and antioxidants degrade on store shelves, but when broccoli is blanched and frozen within hours of harvest, it holds its punch. Europe has long leaned on frozen produce as a standard staple. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has even argued that stricter European food protections make simple frozen veggies safer in Europe than much of what's passed off in American stores. Energy food or hidden hazard? Not here. This one actually delivers. Now let's compare textures. Risky picks like canned chicken or trail mix gave you rubber and sugar glue. With Kirkland organic frozen vegetables, a quick steam brings out crisp, bright beans, not mush. Toss them in a stir-fry, and they hold color, they hold shape. They actually taste like vegetables, not salt water or grease. And seniors benefit most. Fiber helps keep digestion smooth, vitamins support immunity, and low sodium means fewer dangerous spikes when paired with heart or kidney meds. One simple cup of frozen broccoli adds bulk to meals without pushing your blood pressure into the red zone. So what's the fix? Stock your freezer, keep a couple of bags ready. Steam them plain, or toss in a skillet with garlic and olive oil. You get a safe, cheap, quick side dish that supports your health instead of hurting it. Comment check. Do you keep frozen veggies stocked at home, or do you still fall for the fresh-only myth? Drop your thoughts below. I bet some of you swear by the freezer aisle. Bottom line, this isn't convenience wrapped in regret. It's convenient that it works for you. And that brings us to the second safe pick, the one snack that proves sweet doesn't have to mean risky. And closing out the list of safe bets, we've got Kirkland Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil, the rare bottle that's safer than it claims. So many oils on shelves scream pure, yet get busted by labs for being cut with cheaper seed oils. This one? It's been tested by third-party labs and found to be the real deal. Extra virgin, cold-pressed, with no fillers hiding inside. Luxury taste without the chemical trickery. Crack the seal, and you don't get a stale or rancid odor. You smell that grassy, peppery note that real olive oil should have. A drizzle on bread gives a clean bite with a little throat tick. That's the natural polyphenols, not chemicals. Compare that with the bitter chemical burn people complain about in fake blends. Now here's the contrast. While risky oils load your food with omega-6 fats and preservatives, Kirkland's organic olive oil brings healthy monounsaturated fats that support the heart and reduce inflammation. For seniors, that means fewer joint flare-ups and a lower risk of clogged arteries. The FDA even allows olive oil companies to claim reduced heart disease risk when replacing saturated fats with olive oil. But here's the real shocker. Studies show people who cook daily with real extra virgin olive oil cut cardiovascular events by up to 30%. Yet in the US, mislabeled bottles flood the shelves, something Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has argued would be safer in Europe, because EU regulators test oils far more aggressively. That's what makes Costco's Kirkland Organic stand out. It consistently passes purity tests run by groups like the UC Davis Olive Center. Cooking oil or heart helper? For seniors on blood pressure or cholesterol meds, this swap can be life-changing. Instead of straining your liver with processed seed oils, you get compounds that work with your meds, not against them. It's anti-inflammatory, easier on digestion, and safer for long-term health. The fix couldn't be simpler. Toss out that bargain jug of vegetable oil and switch to Kirkland's organic extra virgin olive oil for cooking, salads, even light frying. You'll cut the hidden risks and keep the flavor. So let's ask, are you still pouring generic oil into your pan? Or have you made the switch to real olive oil? Drop your answer in the comments because food habits in this one area might be the quietest health trap of all. Bottom line? Out of all the bottles on Costco's shelves, this one deserves a spot in your kitchen. It's not a scam, it's a safeguard. Don't risk your health on bad choices. Subscribe now, and I'll show you what to avoid and what's actually safe every single week.